Hey guys, and welcome to the Hobby News. Well, today's a pretty exciting day. Creature Caster have their Children of Ruin released, which is really cool. So yeah, I've been waiting to check these guys out, as many people have been, and yeah, they look really good. They've been releasing images on Instagram, and other YouTube channels have been doing little pre-release looks at them and that sort of thing, and now they're here. So yeah, really cool. So let's get into it. So you get 10 of them in the pack, it looks like, on 32mm round bases, and it says $60 here. I'm on the world site or whatever, so I'm not sure whether that's 60 in Canadian dollars. I think possibly that's what it is. So I'm not sure what the dollar amount will be for you in your country, but yeah, they're sort of on average, on par with, I guess, once you do the conversion, probably on par with somewhere around about the same as a Games Workshop, maybe a little cheaper than a Games Workshop box, maybe, or around the same. So yeah, but still really cool. And they come in that new CO-Res resin, which is a new process that a lot of companies are using. I think is it Corvus Belli or whatever, the ones that do the Infinity stuff. They're also going into this technology, I'm pretty sure. So there's a few companies that are doing it, and it's supposedly pretty good stuff. It's quite durable, all that sort of thing. Not as brittle as normal resin. So I saw, I think it was Ninjon or whatever on YouTube. He did a video on these, and it shows him throwing them up into the air onto the table and bouncing. So that's really amazing. So if that's true, if that's how they actually are, then I'm sure that he was, being legit when he was doing that little skit. And they seem to be totally fine. Nothing snapped. So that's pretty interesting, because certainly if you did that with a resin model that's as thin as these parts are, like a small kit like this, definitely parts would break off. So that's a really cool thing. If you're into this sort of thing, then that's pretty nice. They look like they're on a pretty decent scale, 35 to 55mm heights, which means that the model themselves is somewhere around that 35 to 40mm, which is in line with most game systems out there, certainly Games Workshop stuff. So this would be, really great models for, Nurgle and stuff like that, or even cultists, or a number of different things, or a Necromundian gang. So many different options you could do with stuff like this. So that's pretty good. So let's take a look. So the Insatiable Horde, 10 units strong. Okay. A perpetual need to consume all in their path drives their tortured half-life. They are prisoners in their own bodies, receiving no pleasure from their gluttony. Okay, cool. Let's see if we've got any more descriptions. Okay, so a follower of ruin is given life only from death. The queens and bile witches of ruin bring life to these monstrosities. As the maternal demons consume other life, DNA is broken down and reformed essence is consumed, and then the semi-digested mass is regurgitated. In this way, former life is depleted and recycled into the macabre infantry that will further ruin's gluttonous addiction. The children of ruin are cast in robust, durable, and recycled CO-Res. They come with custom 32mm round bases and have heights between 35 and 55mm. Models are unassembled and unpainted. Yep, okay. So yeah, pretty cool idea, pretty nice concept. It's nice that they've gone for, I guess, for their Nurgle faction or Nurgle-like faction, they've gone for a more gluttony-based style thing, which is kind of cool, rather than sort of more the disease thing. So that's really interesting. But overall, really cool. So let's take a look at some of the up-close shots. So I've got the group shot here. Yeah, it looks really cool. They're definitely a lot of character, a lot of movement. If we take a little closer look at them here, I really love some of this kind of the head designs on them. I really like overall, like some of these like interesting like double mouth and almost it's very very evocative kind of shapes here. I think we all know what's going on some of these, but I love that integration of sort of bodily anatomy into some of these forms. to sort of really push that juxtaposition of the macabre and disgusting and grotesque with something that's meant to be alluring and, you know, ultimately attractive and all those kinds of things. So that Beauty and the Beast kind of contrast, I guess, but in a much more extreme fashion. And I think that really works on demon forms and that sort of thing, to work with the anatomy and try to create those interesting, I guess, sensations across the body. And yeah, in this demon form, you're getting it. So you're getting a lot of interesting shapes. And I love all the teeth designs. I've talked about this before. I'm a sculptor, have my own brand, Blood of Gods, which is, you know, runs a lot in line with something like Creature Caster. I do my own demon factions and all of that stuff, and mostly based around necromancy and death. And, you know, I love doing these types of jaw forms and like teeth kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the funnest parts of designing a demon for me anyway. And yeah, they're definitely, whichever sculptor did these is having a lot of fun with that for sure. And so we have a look. Yeah, there's a lot of movement. You know, that make great plague bearers for Games Workshop games. You know, that'd be awesome. Pox walkers or something like that would also be really, really cool for 40k. Yeah, you know, now we get a much nicer shot there. So we can see it's got a lot of depth, you know, into the mouth and so on, which is nice. That'll be good for all of your washes and, you know, various types of contrast paints and that sort of thing if you're doing that. Yeah, look, great movement. Yeah, these sort of shambling ones, which are really cool. You know, you could even do a pretty interesting sort of take on an undead army and do sort of these as shambling hordes of zombies, you know, and do a kind of sort of Nurgle infested undead army or something. That'd be pretty interesting too. Yeah, like, look, I love all this, you know, the stitched together head, and it's got all this sort of weird sort of tongue-mouth situation going on there, which is interesting. Yeah, and then so it's like wrapped. Yeah, I like that. So it's got all this kind of stretching. That's really cool. Yeah, there's a ton going on these models. There's a ton of nice little imagery and things happening. This is really great with the tongue wrapped around this kind of bell. You know, the gruesome sort of body there on top. Very classic sort of demon head, the no eyes. I love doing stuff like that. That's great. I love this, the feet with that two-toed kind of thing. That's really nice. It's got a lot of structure in the bones. Yeah, really, really cool. Overall, these are some fun models. Yeah, and you can see the way they come. So if you wanted to not use their bases and you wanted to fit them in with your other game systems, you know, they come pretty easy just on the sprue here, so you can just chop them off and glue them on. That's a really nice feature. All the weapon options are separate, so that's good too. You can do a lot of differences there, you know, and it shows you the size, you know, that's all good. Yeah, the one that's eating on the ground, that's great, very zombie-like. Yeah, just some really, really fun and characterful poses and interesting ideas going on. You can tell the sculptor had a lot of fun doing these, that they were just, you know, coming up with all sorts of wacky and weird options for these to have them doing stuff, you know, this kind of through the body and holding up these I guess sensor burner things here with this weird kind of, again, certain type of anatomy kind of going on this head, but it's very classic demon sort of thing. A lot of these kind of designs and so on also remind me a lot of like you know, 80s anime, you know, before, you know, before anime had its, you know, adult genre, as it were, back in the day before the internet and all that kind of thing. You know, a lot of adult themes were just put into regular anime. You know, there was no sort of distinction. It was just, so a lot of those early movies like what are some of them, like, you know, Dark City and things like that were all based on this demonic thing, usually quite overly sexualized, but, you know, a lot of the demon shapes and forms that the designers, the guys that were drawing all those, you know, had a lot of these kinds of, I guess, phallic imagery and so on mixed into a lot of their demon shapes, and they're really cool. Like, you know, even in things like I'm pretty sure Berserk as well has a lot of that kind of imagery in it as well. There's a ton of that like 80s anime that just has like, really doesn't hold back. You know, the Japanese animators weren't shy of you know, indulging their I guess excesses when it comes to this type of thing, and you know, and for the most part was done in a pretty intelligent way and for a purpose. It wasn't just, you know, about being sexualized or whatever. It was for a purpose, and it fit the theme. You know, if we think of something like, even in things like Ninja Scroll and other classic movies, and even in the evolving shapes and forms in Akira also evoke some of that stuff as well. So you know, there's all those kinds of themes running through a lot of that 80s anime, and I see it here. You know, you can see the influence. The sculptor definitely, I'm sure if you spoke to them, they probably, you know, grew up on anime stuff, and a lot of those shapes and forms are coming out. Or at least I can see that, because that's my influence as well. I'm an old man, and I grew up in that, you know, as a kid in the 80s, and that all that anime stuff, you know, that really affected my design aesthetic. And you know, my local video store. If you don't know what that is, if you're a young person listening to this and you don't know what a video store is, but we used to have video stores. It's where you went to a shop and you rented your movie on this big, thick plastic, you know, we'll call it a disc, and you put that into your other big plastic box, and then you watched the movie on that. And they were very kind to the younger, you know, kids who would come in, and so you could pretty much rent whatever you like. The restrictions on things like that were very, very loose back in the 80s, and so I got to see all the anime I wanted. Any of the anime videos that were in that store I could watch, and so yeah, it was fun. I got to see all of those things. This is a great one too, and yeah, you can never see the influence in my own stuff. If you you know, click the link in the description there, you'll see my Demon Forms. I'm influenced by those things too, as well as Games Workshop. You know, obviously Warhammer has been a big part of my life since I was very young, and that's obviously an influence. But definitely, you know, anime and Japanese culture and stuff also has a big influence on most Western culture. Really, that fusion between East and West, you know, Japan and so on, is quite a big deal in most Western cultures. Yeah, it's really cool. Loving it all. So yeah, let's see. Let's just come back to the other one. So we'll finish up on this. Yeah. So I think overall, a really nice offering from Creature Caster. I think it's going to do well. I'm very tempted to pick up a set of these to muck around with them and see what I can do. Yeah, just, you know, great stuff coming from them. So if you've enjoyed this, please hit that like button, subscribe button, and I guess I'll catch you on the next one.